Hello, Talia.
Hello, Leslie.
So we were just speaking, and you were telling me a little bit about your experiences when you were in counselor training. Now, Talia, you're a counselor in the UK.
Yes.
And you received your training about a decade ago, finishing up about 8 years ago.
Yes.
And
that part of my training, yes.
Okay. And so you had some experiences with your program, and the way you sort of were describing it to me, it sounded like they were still teaching some pretty sound therapy principles in the program, but then subjecting students to a very different experience in your process groups that you were doing. And so I would love to hear a little bit about that. But first, could you tell me a little bit about what drew you to counseling in the first place, and what you expected from this study and from the career, and what the role of the counselor was going to be?
Yeah, what made me want to train as a counsellor was that I'd had my own therapy previously, and it had been so helpful. Mm-hmm. And then I got involved in mental health work, not at that point as a trained counsellor, but like working in a drop-in and that kind of thing. And I liked it. And eventually I decided to train as a counsellor. And this was like about my second or third course. I'd done a year already, counselling certificate. And that was quite tough too. But then I decided, 12 years ago, I would do the 2-year diploma course. So that's where we were. So I knew it might be difficult. But I was determined to do it. You know, we all do it because we want to help people. We want to share the love and, you know, the power of counselling with others.
Mm-hmm. And so you got into it for these reasons, this sort of wanting to give back and be a part of a process that had been so helpful to you in your own life. And you were talking about this program. You said it was pretty good in a lot of ways. They were teaching you some really valuable things, but then you had a mandatory diversity module or training, and that was where things started to feel like something wasn't right. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, so could you tell me what that experience was like for you?
Yeah, the tone changed. It was like, oh yeah, the next 3 weeks are going to be about diversity. And by the way, you are the oppressor. The whole group was told, you are the oppressor. And the whole group was white. So that's the only reason I can think of that we were told that. And when I rejected that, I explained some family history of mine going back a long time, and said, no, I'm not the oppressor. And then he insisted, no, you are the oppressor. So then, and that was our introduction to diversity.
That sounds so different than what a normal counseling class would be like, where you're being told what your identity is.
Yeah, it was different, and it looked like conformity was going to be required. So, and that's always a red flag for me. I'm not very good at conformity. So I think during or after the 3 weeks, we had one of our personal development groups at the end of the evening, where we all, we're all sitting in a circle, all the students and the tutor. We had 2 tutors, but only one was doing this personal development group. And it was explained to me that if you're perceived as the oppressor, that means you are the oppressor. Mm-hmm. And that went against all the counselling theory we had learned about self-actualization and deciding for yourself, discovering for yourself who you are. You're not having an identity imposed on you by family members or the rest of society. So that's why I said it. And once I'd said that, I don't want an identity imposed on me, that was accepted, that was tolerated.
Okay.
So that was good. It was, that was hell though, that was very difficult. I'm not complaining about that. Groups can be really, really hard. So it wasn't the first time I'd been in that situation, but I had to decide that I might be the only one in the whole group. I might be isolated. But I went ahead, and I wasn't really. It wasn't as bad as I imagined. And then a few months later, another group, there was another personal development group. We had them regularly, but these were the two that stood out for me. And this was with the other tutor, a female tutor. And there were a couple of issues related to me. And this one was really stressful. She was, well, I won't go into personal details, but it really was stressful. Again, it went through my head, I might be the only one. I might be isolated here, but I just, I went, you know, I was determined to stand my ground. And we went round the group, everyone saying their opinion and all this. And that one had a good outcome. The tutor had a change of heart by the end of the evening.
So this was similar.
Yeah. So no, this was about a different issue. I had said a couple of things that had upset her. One of that really were very, very easy to argue against. I mean, I find all of it easy to argue against. Their arguments are not good. Their arguments are weak, but they're willing to be aggressive about them. That's the bit that throws me, you know. But I think, no, okay, we're all together in a group. This is a counselling course about communication, discussion, dialogue. So I'm going to do that. And it worked out okay. And then she was the one, you know, as you know, I'd like to make some points about positive outcomes. So I'll make one now, which was that female tutor came up to me at the end of the course and said that she was pleased that she had met me. And I thought that was a good outcome. I wasn't expecting it, but to me that shows that dialogue can change things. Doesn't always, but and again, you know, it was hellish at times, but we got through it. Probably hell for her as well.
Sounds like the experience for you was one where you were hearing things that you knew weren't right, and you didn't want to be forced to agree with them just because the group all seemed to be of one mind about these things, or at least other people weren't speaking up. And somehow so I don't, correct me if I'm wrong. Am I putting words in your mouth there?
Well, it was fairly clear that most of the others objected to what was going on, but they wouldn't, you know, in the breaks, it was we were all complaining like hell to each other, you know, but it's like, it's fascinating, you know, you get everyone in a group, face to face, in a circle, and, you know, where are they? Where are the words? All those words.
So then
but I'm not trying to, sorry, go on.
No. Oh, sorry, Talia. So it sounds like they did actually feel like you did. Everybody was objecting to the illogical sort of teaching that was going on, but they were silent when they were in the group. They didn't want to speak back against it. I
don't want to be too cut and dried about it. I don't want to portray myself as some sort of, you know, heroine who spoke out when no one else did. It wasn't that clear cut at all. But it felt to me, and I'm sure everyone's got their own story, you know, of those groups, but it felt to me I had to be prepared to be the only one. I really had to stand my ground, which I did. I made compromises, but in those particular groups, I did stand my ground, and with a good result.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I wanted to do this interview with you, or have this chat with you, Leslie, is because when I hear about critical race theory, which I think this was, to some extent, I'm not an expert on it, but that's what it seems like now, but it's often described as this dead weight, this thing which you can't argue against.
Right.
It's designed to be, it can't be negated in some way, but I just felt, well, sometimes maybe it is worth a try.
So despite the fact that it sort of already answers itself, it sort of has all of its logic in a package and has a way of dismissing critics, you still tried to have a good dialogue, and you still felt like you got a better result than you might have expected. You got people to actually listen, and that one teacher came around a little bit and appreciated your perspective.
Yes, I think that's right. I mean, it takes a lot to silence me. I will, I'll always give it a try, the dialogue. Well, usually if it's safe, I'm not saying everyone's got to try and do it, but, I did it with quite a good result. I mean, I qualified, I finished the course, I qualified, so that's good. That teacher came up and said she was glad she met me. What were the other things? I got a good practical training, as I mentioned to you, even though it contradicted the way we were being treated sometimes. It was a good training in the practical sense. And the last positive outcome I wanted to mention was that I did a course that when it started 2 years after that, the Open Dialogue Foundation training, and it was completely different. There wasn't any of that. They value what they call polyphony, which means many voices.
Okay.
So, and they really do very carefully and meticulously listen to what everybody has to say. That is the work, and they treat their students like that. In my view, and so that finished 5 years ago.
And is that a UK-based program, that one?
It started off in Finland, in Western Lapland in Finland, but it's pretty international now. Okay. There is a UK base. They're working in America as well. So it's fairly international now.
That sounds like a good resource.
Yeah. It was a completely different experience. So I just wanted to point out that there are training somewhere that's not all this indoctrination process, as far as in my experience.
So what is your takeaway from this experience? It sounds rather encouraging that, this, though it was really difficult for you to prepare yourself to potentially be the only one speaking up, you took a chance and you made an attempt to speak up when you felt like something wasn't right. And the result was pretty good. A good dialogue was opened, and you didn't get the pile on that you could have had. And
no, I didn't.
So
no.
yeah. So what's your sort of overall takeaway about this experience that you would encourage other people to think about?
Keep talking if you possibly can.
And do you have a sense of what training programs are like in the UK now, in the time between when you graduated and where we are now? Do you have a sense that this is still going on, that it's gotten better, that it's gotten worse?
I don't know much, but what I hear about some of the professional organizations is really bad. A lot of pressure put on their members. But I don't really know. Like my most recent experience was in training, was the open dialogue training, and I can report that you know, all is well there. That's you know, yeah, thank goodness, really.
So it sounds like kind of a mixed bag at this point, with some things being very positive and some movement in a good direction, but also some concern about the professional organizations.
Yeah, sure. There's a group called Don't Divide Us that's working on this.
Okay.
It's not all doom and gloom, but there's a lot of difficulty in the profession, and I'm thinking maybe, you know, either try and change it from within. Some people are very good at that, or, you know, kind of build something independently and call it something different. If you know, if it can't be called counselling, call it something else, and just build something different independently. Why not?
Do you have any advice you'd give to clients who are seeking a therapist or counselor and who want to avoid ideology in their treatment?
Well, the Critical Therapy Antidote have a list of therapists that I would go onto the Critical Therapy Antidote website. I think they're a very good organization, very active, a lot of sensible people in there. I think that's the advice that would be the best resource for a potential client, I would say, in my experience.
I agree. I think they're a wonderful, wonderful group.
And yeah, and they've got therapists in America, in the UK. Yeah.
So is there anything that you'd like to wrap up with, or that I should have asked that I didn't, or any final thoughts?
I think you've given me the opportunity to say everything I wanted to say, but I'll just repeat again, where you can, keep a dialogue going, keep talking where you can.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, Talia. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. Thank you for having this chat.
Thank you.